Hello, everybody. Today we are going to talk something about electronic circuits. What are electronic circuits? Okay, so there are different kinds of circuits. Circuits in the sense, making a connection between two points to send electricity through it. Okay, so when you say connect something, it means that you are going to send some kind of electricity through it. Electricity doesn't mean that it is going to be electrons or something else. It is going to be just a kind of what do you say, a wave transmission. Okay, wave transmission in the sense like if you have air, then you hit the air with the with some kind of frequency. So you can see in the sense like you move the air wave, then it creates what is called a wave around the thing. So similarly, when you speak on the air, so somebody is able to hear. So basic the thing is you're going to create some kind of energy waves which is going to travel through the thing, and it can travel through space, it can travel through any kind of media, it can travel through any kind of other things. But particularly we are talking about here is electrical or electronic circuits. Now we are not going into electrical circuits, how they behave. We are just going into electronic circuits. What are electronic circuits? Are the lowest level of kind of those kind of wave study. Basically, higher frequency and things like that. Okay, so those are the kinds of things we are going to do. And low voltage kind of environment where you can low voltage in the sense like you can have transmission or not transmission, actually transmission of electricity, transmission of voltage, and transmission of energy waves and some kind of frequency circuits which you are going to see. Okay, so when you're talking about any kind of circuitry, why do you need a circuitry is to transfer the energy from one place to another place. That's all. Okay, so it is going to take the wave and transmit the thing into different forms and different things, and kind of it is going to do two types of things. One is amplitude modulation, another one is phase modulation, and do all the things whatever you want. So the two basic things of any kind of circuitry is modulation. Modulation in the sense amplitude modulation, phase modulation. That's all. Okay, frequency modulation. Phase is same as frequency modulation. Amplitude is similarly kind of like amount of energy you can transmit. Okay, so if you hit a wave, then if you have high amplitude, it means that the energy transmission is much higher. Okay, okay, but it takes time to transfer quite a bit of huge. If you want to send a huge amount of energy, then it takes quite a bit of time to transfer from one place to another place. So amplitude is the kind of thing, amplitude of electricity is quite difficult to transfer it from one place to another place, but it takes quite because you're going to send huge amount of energy from one place to another place. Phase is something which is something to do with frequency of that particular thing, how fast you need to think. So if it is going to uh, huge wave, if you are going to generate a huge wave and you are going to transmit it really fast, then the media is required to do all the things. But here we are going to electronic circuits. We are talking about higher frequency things of low voltage in the sense extreme low things, and because the transmission is much faster, so there are two variables. One is something to do with time, another one is something to do with amount. Okay, amount of energy. So these are the basic two things you have to think about while doing electronic circuitry. Okay, so there are three main things. One is storage, storage of electricity. Then you have transmission of electricity, and another one is clocking of electricity. So these are the basic things you have to remember. Okay, one, you are going to store, then you are going to store the energy and forward the energy, and then make changes based on whatever things you want. Okay, modulate the frequency or amplitude, and based on that you do all the circuitry work. Now, electronic circuits usually have three types of categories. Okay, one is called uh, uh, capacitor, resistor, and inductor. So these are the basic things of a electronic circuitry. So if you take any electronic circuitry, there will be a conductor which is connecting the things, and there will be a uh, conductor which is connecting all these things. One is an inductor, one is a capacitor, and another one is a resistor. So these are the major three elements of any electrical circuit. Okay, so that you have to remember. There are other elements which we'll see. There are different versions of those things that we'll see later. Okay, so basic thing is capacitor, resistor. So inductor, capacitor, resistor, or resistor, inductor, capacitor. Okay, so RIC, or you can CIR, or something like ICR. Those are all ICR circuits. Okay, ICR circuits. It's called ICR circuit. Inductor, capacitor, and resistor circuits. Okay, so these three things you have to clearly remember while doing any kind of circuitry. What do these three things mean? One is an inductor. Inductor in the sense it is going to impede the flow of current. Okay, impeding is one concept. Another one is storing, which is going to be done by capacitor, which is going to store the current for some time. So that is where so capacitor is for storing, inductor is for impeding the current flow, and resistor is a kind of stopping the flow of thing. Okay, so it's a kind of switch kind of thing, like if it goes beyond a certain thing, then it is going to resist the entire flow of current. Okay, so if you're trying to transmit it, then it is going to, if it is a higher frequency kind of thing, or frequency or this thing, it is going to slow down the amount of current that is flowing through a particular conductor. Okay, that is why it is called resistor. Resistor is something which is going to slow down the current. Okay, inductor, which is going to impede the current, or transfer the current to, it is going to just produce a magnetic field, high levels of magnetic field around it. That's all. Impedance means, don't think that it is something else. It is just going to produce, if you send a current through a particular coil or something, it's going to produce a magnetic field. Okay, so this magnetic field opposes the flow of current. That's all. Okay, so inductor means it is just a metal or anything which is going to impede the thing, that is, it is by induction. Okay, it's a process of induction through which it is going to reduce the flow of current. Okay, so that works on. Capacitor is going to store the energy where it is separated and stored in kind of positive and negative kind of thing. So these are the three main things. Storage. So any electrical circuit of these three elements in it, whether it is a computer chip or your processor, or you have any kind of chips, yeah, FPGA chip, this that, everything will have only these three type of circuitry in case of electronic circuits. And electronic circuits composed of individual electronic components such as resistors, transistors, capacitors, inductors, and diodes. Okay, connected by conductive wires or trays through which electric current can flow. So the three main things I told you, but other than that, you have a resist. So we can say the components such as resistors. Okay, we have resistors there, then uh, transistors. Okay, there are something called resistors, and there is transistors, capacitors, inductors. Okay, and diodes. Okay, connected by conductive wires or trays through which electrical current can flow. So if this is a flow of current, resistor is going to resist. Transistors are going to kind of switch between two different kind of things. So switching between two based on what is the amount of flow that is coming. It is a kind of blockade of things which is going to switch between two different elements. That is why it is called transistor. So switching elements are mostly something to do with transistor. That is going to completely cut off the thing and go. Okay, so that is so disconnecting, connecting kind of thing. So that is, they are just transistors which will do two-way or three-way. Okay, so capacitors which are going to store the energy kind of thing inductors which are going to produce some kind of magnetic field or something like that because of the construction type of the particular circuit. Okay, and diodes which are going to impede the flow, allow flow of current only through one side and not through the other side. So diodes are the thing which is going to allow current to flow on one side, the other side it is not. It is something, some kind of gate. Okay, so connected by conductive wires or trace through which electric current can flow. Okay, so basic things of electronic circuit is disconnecting, connecting. Okay, so connecting and disconnecting are done by what? Allowing things to flow through one through are done by diodes and transistors. These are just connecting and disconnecting kind of elements. Okay, and two-way elements and things like that. Okay, they are going to create the pathway to connect or disconnect or change in a different kind of directional change. Those things are going to be done by transistors and the resistor, capacitors, inductors are just going to do. One is resistance, another one is storage of something, another one is induction, which means that it is going to oppose the current based on amount of magnetic field that is produced. So if you make a coil really thick coil, then it is going to just oppose the thing. So it is going to reduce the flow of current based on opposition. Okay, change of current usually when you have a frequency with respect to time. Okay, so this is inductors and capacitors are something to do with time based kind of thing. Resistors are not time based. They oppose the current whether it is they reduce the current whether it is time based or non time based. It's going to reduce the thing. Okay, so most of the electronic circuits, they work on 5 volts or 3 volts or 2 volts, less than that. Okay, these are the basic things you have to understand. 5 volts battery is also kind of things where it is stored and things like that. So when you look at electronic circuitry, it's going to look somewhat like this. So you have, and here you see a capacitor, and the capacitor signal sign is something like this. There will be a uh, a curve kind of thing, and there will be like some kind of two parallel lines will be there. So those are called capacitors, and one of the line, if it is bent, then it is a special type of capacitor. That's all. So if you see any kind of circuitry in which there are two parallel lines, perpendicular to the connectivity, then it is called a capacitor. So the capacitor can be two forms. One is there is a bend kind of thing where the sign will be some kind of bend. So that is a different type of capacitor. That's all. It's normal capacitor. When you think of diodes and other things, there will be some kind of arrow kind of things. Okay, arrow kind of things with some kind of line. So the current is flowing. The arrow means that the current can flow from the direction of which the arrow, the triangle is pointing to, from one end of the thing to another one. Okay, then you have inductors. Inductors will be shown usually like some kind of resistor will be some kind of like kind of a sharp wave kind of thing. Okay, it will be up and down. The circuit will be the straight line wire will be put as up and down as a triangular kind of wave. Okay, so that is resistor. So the signal for how it looks like in a circuit is it goes up and down kind of thing. So that is then you have inductors. Inductors will be have some kind of coil kind of thing. Okay, the signal will be some kind of coil kind of thing. So these are the basic things you have to see. So when you look at a circuitry, immediately you have to identify these things. Okay, one will be a vertical triangular kind of wave. Okay, wave kind of shape, that is called a resistor. Okay, then you have a on the circuit, that is called a resistor. Okay, so if you want to look at this, this is a resistor. Okay, so if you want to look at it, okay, on a circuit kind of thing, so if you want to really look at it, this is the kind of resistor. So if you see the thing, this will be the resistor. Okay, so inductors will have the same thing, but well, the thing is like coil like thing, that is another one. Okay, so capacitors usually have two parallel lines or some kind of one line parallel, one line vertical, another one And other kinds of circuitry like diodes, triodes, pentodes, and all these things will have access. So diodes usually have these kind of signal like an arrow point with a flat kind of thing. So these are the three things you have to identify. Okay, then after identification of resistor, capacitor, and inductor, then you have to identify what are the other different elements. So this kind of element is a this is the this is a transistor kind of element. Okay, where it has a triangle, but it doesn't say a block kind of. Usually they are made it as a big thing where you see that it has more than one or two inputs coming in different directions. Okay, so more than one input is mostly usually to do with something to do with transistor. Okay, so the triangle will be a bit bigger in case of circuit diagrams. Okay, so you have to understand these things. And then there will be another thing which is called base ground, which will have parallel lines reducing. Okay, that is the earth element. Earth element is the negative point of, usually the negative point is created as an earth element. Okay, so this is another type of diode which has got a different kind of thing. Okay, this is also a diode, but it has got special meaning to it. Okay, so whenever this is also a diode, this is also a diode which has got special meaning to it. uh, so this is a triangle with this thing is called a transistor kind of. So the transistors are usually some kind of triangle, big triangle with different kinds of side input, vertical input, and forward input. So when you see a triangle kind of thing, a bigger triangle, at the base you can connect two or more connections, and you'll have at the side you'll have one connection coming in, which means that is the base of the circuit, and the forward of the current is from one direction to another based on what the base current is. Okay, so that is why we have more than one or two of the things coming out of the transistor circuit. Okay, so transistor is basically forwarding or switching based on what kind of amount of voltage coming on the base kind of current circuitry. Okay, so these are the basic three things you have to understand. So in case of some of the capacitors, this is working on normal capacitor kind of thing. Okay, so this is a different kind of capacitor. This is a different kind of where it is polarized kind of capacitor, where you have to connect the negative to one side and positive to another side. So it won't work on both the things. So usually this is something to do with positive negative kind of capacitor. Okay, this is ordinary capacitor, you can connect it anyway. Okay, so parallel means you can connect it anyway. If it is bend and a straight line, then you can have to connect it the lower one as the negative part. Okay, so these are the basic configurations of a circuit understanding of an electronic things. Okay, so most of the transistors will have triangle. Okay, like this. Okay, most of the to some of the other transistors, my diodes usually have a dark triangle. Okay, capacitors, parallel lines, resistors, a wave kind of thing on the circuit, which will have sharp edges. Inductors will have the same kind of resistor kind of thing, but it will have a coil kind of thing. Okay, these are the basic things of a circuitry you have to understand in case of electronic circuits. Other than that, you have switching elements which will be doing some kind of switching kind of thing. Okay, usually they have a positive end and a negative end. Okay, so there will be two lines always going parallel in any kind of electronic circuits, which means that there is a positive end for the circuit and a negative end for a circuit. Okay, usually the negative end is called the earth. Okay, and the positive end is called the the potential of the earth. Okay, so whenever you see an electronic circuit, there will be a positive element and a negative element. These parallel lines go on the top and the bottom. Okay, so these are the basic things of an electronic circuit. So we have seen some. If you want to see some other electronic circuit, this is going to be another electronic circuit where you have vertical kind of thing. That's so the other one is going to be the capacitor is going to have something like this. Okay, it is positive and negative kind of thing, and voltage batteries will be shown as two parallel lines. One is a bigger parallel line and one is smaller parallel line. So this is for battery kind of stuff. And if it is resistor, it is going to be some kind of in a wave kind of thing on the circuit diagram. Then if you want to do any kind of transistor kind of thing, it will be something like 3-point kind of thing. Okay, 3-point connector kind of thing, and it will be showing the direction of the current coming in, going out. Okay, so usually the base is one thing, and you have some current flowing in on one side and coming out on the other side based on the what is the kind of thing. It is a kind of stop switch for the current. Whenever you want to increase the base current, immediately it stops the flow of bits of stops. So it is a some kind of two-way switch. Okay, or two-way, not two-way switch. Okay, yeah, basically some kind of two-way switch, that's all. Okay, capacitor we have seen. Then this is another type of capacitor which is got curve kind of thing. We don't have any, so this is another kind of capacitor. Then you have, where is the inductor? So this circuit doesn't have an inductor, so we'll see some other things where it is going to have some kind of inductor. Okay, so this is a this this have this also has higher IC chips are kind of like a rectangular kind of thing. Okay, if it's doing a specific function, then it is going to be a rectangular kind of thing. Okay, other kinds of resistors and capacitors, that's all. Okay, I wanted to show some of the inductor kind of thing, so it's not available here, so we will go back. So these are the basic things you have to. Okay, so some are called basic RC circuits, some are called LCR circuits, some are called other kinds of things. Okay, I haven't seen any LCR kind of thing. Okay, so yeah, this is how it looks like. Okay, there will be a line coming in, and you'll see something like curve kind of thing. Resistor will have a zigzag kind of uh, circuitry, and in case of inductor you'll see something like coil kind of thing. Okay, so that is the kind of thing which is going to do. So it is going to just impede the current. So here you have another inductor, you can see. Okay, this is an L1. Okay, usually when you combine an LC in a parallel, okay, uh, wherever you see something LC connected in parallel, it means that you are going to generate a clock or variable current. Okay, so the way the current will have some kind of frequency. Okay, wherever you see LC, okay, connected in parallel, okay, not in series, but if it is connected in parallel, immediately you see that it is a kind of clock generator. Okay, clock generator in the sense like frequency generator. That is the basic understanding you should have. Wherever you see an LC circuit or any kind of electronic circuit, you should have that. Whenever you see some kind of triangle like this, it is going to allow the flow of current to pass only in one direction. Okay, so that is the basic things of diode. Resistor, it is going to slow down the current on a particular thing, whether it's frequency or non-frequent kind of things. So whichever kind of thing, it is going to drop the voltage and reduce the current kind of thing. So this is kind of thing which is going to have directional flow of current based on what is the other side is giving. Okay, what kind of current is coming on one of the sides. This is the base. Okay, based on the base, it's going to switch on or off based on the what kind of current that is coming in. Okay, so this is a variable resistor. Usually it is a kind of like reduce the current to a smaller resistance, higher resistance, and things like that. Okay, so this is a kind of transformer T1. Okay, it's a transformer. Basically, transformer is another inductor kind of circuit which is going to help you in transferring some of the things from one place to another place. Usually, inductors, when they are two inductors, when they are pretty close by, then you have what is called a induction of current to the other side. Those are called transformers. Transformers are things basically where you have two induction coils, and these two induction coils are get parallel to each other so as to induce a current to the other side. Okay, so it is also an inductor, but it is inducing the current over there to the other side of the coil. That this kind of two inductors on a circuit close together, it is called a transformer. Okay, transformer in the sense it is going to transform the one side of the current to the other side of the current based on what is the resistance. So it is going to create a voltage on the other end of the transformer or a current flow on the other side of the circuit. So if two separate circuits are there and you want to connect them together, then the best way is to use a transformer. Say you have two circuits and you want to connect them without any problem or as a disjoint kind of thing, then you can use a transformer. Transformer helps you in reducing the high voltage load. So basically when you have a high 220 volts AC, they use a transformer to reduce the thing into 5 volts AC, 3 volts AC and things like that. These transformers help in reducing the amount of voltage, reducing the amount of current on the other side of the circuitry. So whenever you look at a transformer kind of circuitry, it means that they are reducing from one side to another side. So these are the basic concept of a transformer, inductor, capacitor and things like that. Transformers are basically made out of inductors only. Inductors in a different form, how the circuitry is performed. Okay. So diodes are transmission from one side to another side, allow a current for only one. So when you look at an electronic circuitry, okay, when you're representing the whole thing as a kind of memory circuits and other things, there are two basic things that they're going for. One is called a buffer, and other buffer is basically some kind of storage kind of things. Another one is NOT. NOT is going to be whatever polarity is coming in, it's going to be a reverse kind of. So these are the two basic things, buffer and NOT. Okay, these two things, with these two things you can build the entire circuitry of anything. Okay, so you have to understand those two things. One is the buffer. Buffer is basically for storage, slow down in the flow of current, or reducing the kind of for reducing the time delay, giving a time delay. Okay, reducing the time delay. So buffer is one very critical thing, and NOT is another one. NOT is it will allow current to flow through. The opposite thing, reverse polarity will be formed. So if you send current to, if we have a current on one side, the other side won't have current. If we don't have current on one side, then the other side will have current. Other side of circuit will have current. So that is the NOT of a circuit. Okay, so with these two, buffer and NOT of a circuit, you can create any kind of electronic circuitry like a NAND gate, AND gate, OR gate. Any kind of transistor things can be connected and those kind of things. So basic circuit diagrams will be for any kind of storage or memory class or any kind of other kinds of chips or ICs. Everything will be only with these two, NOT and a buffer kind of thing, and with a or a NAND circuit basically. So NAND circuit is the basic things of any high level electronic kind of circuitry. Okay, so we saw how about circuit board. Last time we saw circuit boards. Now we are going to specifically look at the what kind of elements, what are their functionality, and what kind of things they do. Okay, is comprised of individual electronic components such as resistors, transistors, capacitors, inductors and diodes connected by conducting wires or traces through which electric current can flow. Okay, functions of electronics. A circuit is a closed loop through which electricity flow. Okay, so when you say a circuit, it means the current is flowing through in a circle kind of thing, in a closed loop. A closed circuit allows an uninterrupted flow of electricity from the source of the power through which the conductor or wire. So if we take a positive and connect it to the negative end of a battery or something, it is going to allow the current to flow through directly. But some of the things, because of that, sometimes the wire will burn up. Okay, because you are directly making it flow. So always when you have any kind of electronic circuitry, you have to use a resistor to allow the flow of current, minimize the flow of current, so that you don't get a shock or something. So if you have a tester or something like that, when you test something, they use a really high powered resistor, extremely high powered resistors to slow down the amount of current at the other end, which you can sense it. Okay, that is why the testers are kind of like really high resistors. They'll have 10k, 20k, 1000 ohm resistors and things like that. for high voltage and all, they have 2000, 10,000 volts ohms resistor to check the circuit testers and other things. Okay, so these things you have to know. Okay, the three rules. Okay, three rules, building blocks of the circuit. Rule one: electricity always want to flow from higher voltage to a lower voltage. Electricity always has work that needs to be done. Electricity always needs a path to travel. So electricity has a path, then it has to work to be done, and the other will flow from one end of the current to the other. What do you mean by electronic circuits? The electronics, a circuit is a complete circular path of electric flow. A simple circuit consists of current source, conductors, and a load. The term circuit can be used in a general sense to refer to as the fixed path in the electric draw as a signal or a can travel through. Okay. What are the five electrical circuits? Okay. Closed circuits, open circuits, short circuits, series circuits, and parallel circuits. So if you have a connection which is parallel, five main types of electronic circuits. So there are parallel circuits, in the sense two things are parallel. Then you have a series circuit, which is one element is connected to the other element on the other side. Okay, by a single line of wire, that is called a serial circuit. Parallel circuit, if you have two lines connecting between two circles kind of thing. Okay, that is parallel circuit. Open circuit is just not, when the circuit has a break, that is called an open circuit. Short circuit is if we have two things which is shorted together, that is called short circuit. Closed kind of thing. So closed circuits are complete circuit is from the positive end of the battery to the negative end of the battery, a complete loop, then it is called a closed circuits. Okay, so these are the basic things. What are two types of electric circuit? Two types of electric: serial circuit and parallel circuit. So there are types of circuit. Circuit can be either, it can be, you can connect the wires serially or you can connect the wire parallelly. So these are the basic types of circuits. So if you take two wires, okay, two or three wires, and you want to connect them, okay, how can you connect? You can connect them either one is connected to the next one is connected to the next one, the next one is connected. So that kind of connection is called a serial. Okay, parallel is something to do this. You connect them all together, all three, one end of the thing to one side, and all the other three are to the other thing. That is called a parallel circuit. Okay, so if you connect like that, then it is called parallel. Okay, and if you have elements in between, like some other kind of battery or a you know battery or a lighting source or something like that, then you have serial circuits and parallel circuits. These serial circuits and parallel circuits can be intermingled, in the sense like part of it can be serial, part of it can be parallel, and things like that, depending on what kind of elements you have in them. Okay, types of electrical circuits. What are the two main types of circuits? Serial and parallel. Okay. Okay, and components in the circuit are joined by wires. If there are no branches, then it's a serial circuit. If there are branches, it's a parallel circuit. So if we have branch within a kind of electric circuit, then it is a parallel circuit to connect elements. Okay, so you can have any kind of intermediary elements, but it's a kind of tree structure, then it is a parallel circuit. Branches means parallel circuit. If it is any kind of serial thing, then it is going to have a single line kind of thing. Okay, that's all. So there are different kinds of topologies. Okay, serial topology, parallel topology, then other kinds of topology for the circuits. Okay, topology we'll look into later. Okay, what are the different kinds of topologies available for a particular circuitry and other things. But basic thing is serial parallel, which means that one has got a branch, another one doesn't have a branch for a particular tree kind of structure of circuitry, electronic circuits. Okay, so electronic circuits is over 20 electronic circuits, simple things. So these are some basics about electronic circuits. So the three elements that we saw: inductor, resistor, capacitor. Then extra elements are switches. Okay, switches in this, they disconnect the circuit and connect the circuit. So whenever you see any kind of big transistor and other things, they are just going to connect and disconnect. Okay, and allow current to flow from one side to another side, this side to that side to. So it is a kind of switching wire kind of thing. Okay, whenever you see those kind of things, the basic thing is a switch kind of thing. It is going to do multi-switch, single switch, double parallel switch. Those are all done by transistors. Resistors are going to slow down the current. The slow down current and the amount of voltage, drop down the voltage and things like that. And inductors and capacitors are going to inductors are going to produce basically a magnetic field and reduce the amount of current that is flowing on one side, and it is going to induce, if we have a same kind of inductor from the other side also, then it is going to transfer the thing to a new kind of circuit. So without two disjoint kind of circuit can be connected through an inductor called a transformer and things like that. Okay, so these are the basic things of electronic circuitry. So when you see the group of wires, a connector, disconnector, switch kind of element, then you have a thing which is going to a capacity kind of element which is going to send voltage, keep the voltage between those things, and inductor kind of which is going to slow down the thing and based on magnetic effect, and another one is capacitor which is resistor which is going to completely impede the flow and reduce the voltage. Okay, so these are the basic things you have to understand. With these things they are going to build all the electronic circuits. So basic electronic circuits will have buffer. If you go in high end chips, it's going to have a buffer, and then you have a NOT switch. Okay, so these are the two things when you have going into high electronic circuitry. Okay, so whether it is a memory element or storage element or kind of a processing element, processor element is all just kind of how we switch the things to different sites. Okay, and how we make the current flow through different elements. So processor basically, so if you have one thing flowing from one to another thing, then it is a positive kind of thing. Then it is, there is no current on one of the end, then it is a zero. So if we have take a circuitry, and if you touch and see if it is going to have some kind of current, it is going to have some kind of voltage, then it is going to be a +1, and if it no current is there, then it is going to be a 0. So basic things are worked on some kind of switching elements and storing elements and opposing kind of things, which is going to be magnetic, right? Another one is capacitor. So clocks are capacitor and capacitor and inductor in parallel. Okay, and wherever you see that, it will be some generating some kind of frequency on the circuit or some kind of variable elements on the circuit. They are called variable elements on the circuit. They generate clock. So that is enough for today. It's a kind of jittering. Okay, it's a kind of AC to DC generator or AC generator. When you see a LC circuit, it is a alternating current generator. Okay, on a DC circuit, then it is going to generate some kind of alternating current. So that's all for today about electronic circuits. So this is the basic things before you go into higher levels of circuitry. Last time we saw circuit boards and other things on what are the elements. Now we are going to look, we saw what are the actual elements within the thing, what they do. Okay, that is all for today about basic circuits and other things about electronic circuits.